Let us help you reach your peak in retirement. It's time for Retirement Elevated with Sean Lee.
Hey, everybody. Welcome into the final podcast of 2020. Thanks for tuning in to Retirement Elevated with myself and Sean Lee as we talk investing, finance, and retirement. And Sean, can you believe it? We've made it to the end of 2020, at least for us anyway. We're taking it's a couple of weeks short of the actual year ending, but podcast version. This is the last one for this year. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. It's I saw a thing about 2020 ending, how it's a party, but if you think about it, like we made it through 2020. That's some good. Just making it, like that's some good. We're resilient people. We're strong. We can handle a lot of diversity.
Very, very true. And, I was talking with a lot of different advisors throughout the last couple of weeks and since the last time I talked to you, and I've been saying, expectations, when you're sitting down with an advisor, setting expectations is really important, not only for what you expect from the advisor, but what the advisor expects out of you as a client as well, so that you get a good relationship going. And I feel like we need to do that with 2021. I feel like we want a good relationship with 2021, and we need to set some fair expectations because a lot of us, I'm afraid, are going to see the ball drop and think, that's it, everything's better. This terrible year is over. And it's like, yeah, we're still going to have some stuff to deal with in 2021. So let's not unfairly judge the next year yet. Let's keep some optimism, even though it's going to be rough for a couple of months, I still think, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's the one thing we know about the markets is that they don't run on calendar years.
Right.
They just run on the strength of the economy and stuff. And so, yeah, 2021's exciting. And I think that we've got some clarity on what's happening politically and the elections and things like that. And
vaccines are rolling this week, and yeah.
There could be a lot of noise between now and January 6th and then January 20th, but who knows? I think we're moving in the right direction as a country with the vaccine and all that crazy stuff, and
right.
We'll see what it brings.
Exactly. Well, we're talking about advisors and setting a good expectation and all that stuff. That's what we're going to do to finish off the year. So whether you're working with an advisor, not working with an advisor, considering it, putting it on your sort of resolution list like we do for the new year, saying I'm going to lose weight and fix my finances and all that kind of stuff. Here's some things to consider. Is your advisor doing this, or the new person that you're interviewing, these things that you're talking about? So that's going to be our podcast this week. So hopefully you'll pick up a good, useful nugget or two. And if you're not working with somebody and you do make that resolution, follow through with it. Make 2021 the year you actually get some things done and take those steps in those right directions for your retirement and for yourself. Do yourself and your retirement that favor. And, of course, if you need help, you can always reach out to Sean and the team. If you're not already working with them at 855-50-RETIRE, it's 855-50-RETIRE. Or you can subscribe to the podcast and learn a lot of things at the website we've got there, retirementelevatedpodcast.com. That's retirementelevatedpodcast.com. All right, Sean, so I got a couple of things here. You tell us if these are some things that your advisor, they probably all should be doing this, but maybe you can just kind of tell us some things to think about from some of these different topics, because a lot of folks just don't even really know the kind of advice or service maybe they should be getting, let alone if it's, in the right vein or not. So let's just go through a few of these things, because often I think most of the times what we get is someone who's just managing the quote-unquote investments versus giving us guidance in some of these other arenas. So, for example, reviewing tax returns and just talking about tax planning versus just tax prep. Many places just don't do this. No,
and let me be clear. I'm not a CPA, so I don't do taxes. I don't do any of that stuff. But we do a lot of tax strategy, and that's a huge thing in my mind. Tax planning is one of the most important components when it comes to planning. And when you look at reviewing tax returns, there's a lot of things that can be found inside of a return, whether you're still working or you're retired. And some of the things that we look for are, do you have any money that's at this point falling through the cracks? And is there unnecessary taxation on, some of your investments? And what I mean by that is, do you have after-tax mutual funds that you're paying taxes on from an ordinary interest perspective when you could make some simple adjustments and that changes? Or, do you, in your withdrawal strategy, are you efficiently pulling money out? Do you know what that top level of your bracket is to where you can do conversions, Roth conversions, and it doesn't really affect you? And so having a holistic plan entails having, a review of your tax returns, because I think we have a pretty good idea of where tax law is going to be over the next 5 years at least.
Right.
I don't think it's going to change a whole lot, even with the change of presidency. There's just not enough time to get that done. So in my opinion, from 2021 to 2025, we have a pretty good handle of what it's going to be. And having some proper tax planning can create some pretty big opportunity for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think the window that's the max window if you're correct there and they just don't make that change. You know, You never know. There's so much animosity back and forth, and we'll stay out of that. But just enough to say that something could, be worked on. Either way, the window is probably closing, to your point, of these low tax rates, this low tax environment that we're in. So is your advisor really counseling on you that? And to Sean's point, they're not CPAs, but many advisors who really go through and do the holistic approach do have close relationships with other CPAs in the area or are happy to work with one that you already have. So it's a matter of having that, to use the baseball analogies that we often do here on the show, Sean, it's really having some coaches that are good in a couple of different areas. You've got your pitching coach and you've got your hitting coach and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm. So, right. And what's the worst that happens if you have a second opinion on a lot of the stuff that we're talking about? Like, you have the second opinion to find out, hey, I'm in great shape. Or you have the second opinion to find out, I've got some gaps and I'm glad that I know about them.
Yep, exactly. All right, so moving right along, is your advisor evaluating fees and costs in your investments? I think most of us, Sean, feel like that should be a standard part of what we do, what we get when we go to see an advisor. But sometimes, again, it may not be really something they do, or am I off base there?
It depends. I think initially that happens in a lot of cases. When an advisor sits down, does an evaluation, which we evaluate fees, expenses, costs of different investments. When we do evaluations for potential new families that we work with. Mm-hmm. But on the back end, we also consistently audit, and we're looking for ways to create some efficiencies. We're an institutional firm, so our fees are laid out, they're disclosed, and that's what our clients and prospects pay. But there needs to be a constant evaluation of that to make sure that, one, your plan is as efficient as it can be, but two, that you're getting value for the fees. I talk a lot about that. Like, fees are fees.
Sure.
Like, we all pay fees, but are you paying for a Cadillac and you're getting a Chevy? Or
hey.
And there's nothing wrong. I drive a GMC, so don't get me wrong.
And the same parent company, right? Yep.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at that and you say, okay, am I paying for
that's a great point.
Level of service that I should get, and I'm not getting?
Yeah, if you're paying $75,000 for a Caddy, but you're getting a Chevy Malibu, I get. Yeah, it's definitely not what you're paying for. So again, and we do talk about that a lot too. There's nothing free in life. We all know that. So is the value there for the service that you're getting, and does it include some of these items that are on our list today? And oddly enough, Sean, a lot of people will be surprised by the fact that, is your advisor talking to you about planning for retirement income? And you're like, well, duh, of course that should be there. But have they? Think about it. Like, have they? Because if they haven't, there's a real good chance that you're working with somebody who's really more about accumulation, about building your wealth, really than figuring out how to help you distribute it back to you as the income needs that you'll need in retirement. Right.
And, you look at this, everybody in America falls under three categories, how they want to generate income. Well, there's the type of person that wants it protected.
Okay.
And I only want my income built this way. I want it to be safe. I want it to be secure. I want it to come in monthly. Or there's a person who wants the markets, and they say, all right, hey, I'm fine with the markets. Create me some dividend income, whatever it may be. Or there's the person who wants a combination of the two.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at creating retirement income, there's some steps that need to be taken in order to, one, understand who you are, but two, create the proper strategies that fit who you are as an individual to create the income and cash flow that you need.
So it sounds a lot like my fourth topic here, or my fourth point, Sean, which is, clarifying the target and the goal for the various investment dollars or vested dollars, because to your point, right, there's different ways of looking at this, different strategies. And as your advisor working with you on saying, okay, we've got monies doing this and we've got monies doing that, whether one's protection, whether one's growth, whether one's whatever the case might be, right?
Yeah. I mean, and if you look at it, think about your money. I even do this for my own assets, but for the families that we represent, I say, okay, you've got all of these different accounts, or you've saved all of this money, you've accumulated it. And if money's spread out, we ask a simple question. What's the purpose of this account? What's the purpose of this account? What's the purpose of this account? And then we want to start to assign tasks to each account or to the dollars, right? So,
right.
this bucket of money is responsible to do this thing, whatever it may be.
Right, exactly. And that's kind of diversification in a way, because basically then you don't have everything doing one job, and if that one job fails, then they all suffer, correct?
Right. Rising tides lift all boats.
There you go.
And so when you can segment your assets and you can earmark your dollars for specific tasks and goals, planning becomes pretty easy.
Yeah, and often when we're talking about, again, managing the investments, which I think a lot of us out here in podcast land, if you will, I usually would say radio land, but we tend to think of really the traditional, well, you're managing my investments, you're picking my stocks, you're helping me grow my portfolio, and there's just so much more to be done, especially when it comes to retirement planning, what they do at Elevated Retirement Group, because again, it's more about turning the life's accrued assets into money that's going to sustain us through our later years, so we can enjoy ourselves and hopefully have the retirement we planned on, sans COVID, yada yada. But do those things that we really want to do, and that brings up my final piece. Often there's many different, there's a lot of big box firms, a lot of big name firms that are really more about just, the growth and accumulation, and they don't bring up things like Social Security, or they don't bring up things like family goals or even legacy planning.
I learned a long time ago, and the financial planning side, the asset side, the investment side, the income side, that's all math. It's a math problem of sources versus expenses, and then what are your resources to offset that.
Okay.
But when you can tie that side together with your goals, beliefs, values, and desires on your money, you can have a kind of that one best financial plan where you've got the money that I have, its job is to serve my purpose in life and to do the things that I want to do, and to allow me to accomplish everything that I want as far as family aspirations, legacy plans, whether they're charity or charitable or passing assets on to the next generation, traveling, doing the things that you want to do, building the experiences. If you can tie in your goals, beliefs, values, and desires with the financial side to that, you've got a plan that's going to be unique and customized to you, and it's going to drive based on what you want to accomplish in life.
Yeah, and I think that really comes down to those conversations amongst ourselves with our significant other, and then in the interview process when we're talking with an advisor, or even the one we're currently working with, making sure that we're on the same page, because as we age and move through retirement, our wants and needs and desires will change to a degree, and our plan certainly has to do that as well. We, just getting a cookie cutter from one of these big box that's a set it and forget it, that just doesn't really work, I don't think, at least for me, in my opinion, because it's got to have, if it's too rigid, how's it going to flow with you? Because your life is, anybody who has lived in any number of years, and obviously as we're getting close to retirement, that's all of us, knows that Murphy's Law and life's just going to come at us from all sorts of, 2020, right? So
right.
Lots of things are going to happen. So having a plan that can ebb and flow and move with you is going to be crucial as well, and having an advisor that can help adjust those things is going to be paramount. So as we wrap up the podcast and we wrap up 2020, ask yourself if your advisor is doing some of these things. If they are, and you got a good relationship, great. If they're not, and you need to make a change, or you need to at least think about some of these things, then reach out, do the interview process, talk with one or two or three. It doesn't necessarily have to be Sean and his firm, but certainly talk with someone. And if you need their help, they are here for you. Subscribe to the podcast if you have not done so on Apple or Google or Spotify or iHeart or Stitcher or whatever. There's lots of places you can find it. Most phones now have apps preloaded on them. Like if you're an Apple user, Apple Podcast should be there. You can type in Retirement Elevated in the search box. You'll find the podcast. Just hit the heart button, and then you're subscribed. You'll get new episodes as they come out. Or you can find it all at retirementelevatedpodcast.com. That is retirementelevatedpodcast.com. Or just call the team if you need some help at 855-50-RETIRE. That's 855-50-RETIRE, serving you here in the Utah area, Sandy, St. George, so on and so forth. My friend, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to let you wrap it up this week, and we're going to be done. I'll talk to you in 2021, which sounds kind of cool, but also kind of exciting as well.
We'll see what that year brings us.
Exactly. Well, happy holidays to you and the family and the whole team there. I hope you guys have a great holiday season, and look forward to talking to you in the future.
Thanks, man. All the best.
We'll see you next time here, folks, on Retirement Elevated. You folks have a sane and safe holiday season as well, and look forward to more podcast episodes coming in 2021 with Sean Lee from Elevated Retirement Group.
Investment advisory services offered through Elevated Capital Advisors, LLC, and SEC Registered Investment Advisor.